Kangi Turzingi Zona Tawa Tamja Pombechi Tambe Chune Tonza Udam de la Chasa Namala Yaga Dudan Jinga Jugunda Miyaga Nanda Tawa Tamjisa Tamjaga Dun Dagi Chodan.
That's it? Okay. That's the prayer. Thank you. Just a few introductory comments. My name is David Gardiner. I teach at Colorado College in the Department of Religion, and I teach Buddhism. And I brought Khen Rinpoche with the help of many friends to Colorado Springs. Rinpoche comes from Ladakh, which is northern India, a part of India that is primarily dominated by Tibetan culture. And he was raised there, and at a young age got across the Himalayas to Tibet, where he studied in Tibetan monasteries for many years, until the Chinese came in and things became kind of difficult there. And in 1959, with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and others, he left Tibet and came to India and lived in India for many years in exile and completed his studies of the Geshe degree, which is considered the equivalent of a PhD in Buddhist philosophy and metaphysics in India. And then since then has traveled in the United States for, about 30 years. In New Jersey, he lived and studied for a while with former Geshe Wangyal at the Tibetan Buddhist Learning Center there. And he's traveled for 20 years, about half of each year he spends in the U.S. He has centers and friends that greet him in Maine, in Massachusetts, in Oklahoma, in Wyoming, in California, in Texas, and now we're adding Colorado to the list for the first time. I met him last year in Wyoming by chance and had a delightful encounter with him and was able to teach with him together for a week in October in Northampton, Massachusetts this past fall. And we seem to work well together, so we're trying that out here. And we'll do it again in Wyoming actually in May. His monastery in India is called the Tashi Lumpo Monastery. He's been the abbot there for several years. Several years ago, His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked Rinpoche if he would take control of this monastery. Traditionally, the Tashi Lumpo Monastery was the house or seat of the Panchen Lama in Tibet. And the Panchen Lama in Tibetan history since about the 15th century has been regarded as almost equal to the Dalai Lama in Tibetan culture. The two of them are the highest spiritual teachers, and they're often called the sun and the moon. Tibetans regard them so highly as that. And they have a particular relationship. When one of them dies, their reincarnation is authorized when it's found. It's given the full stamp of approval by the other, assuming he's alive and well. And they exchange these favors historically over the centuries. The current Panchen Lama was about 12 years ago taken under house arrest by the Chinese. And we don't know where he is. He's probably about 19 years old now, but we haven't a word on him. And the Chinese have put a puppet Panchen Lama in place in China, who espouses Chinese ideology in Tibetan robes, which is very unfortunate. So we have his monastery in exile in India, and his Dalai Lama asked Rinpoche many years ago to be the abbot, but Rinpoche turned him down because he was devoted to developing a school for Ladakhi children in the rural parts of Ladakh, called the Siddhartha School. And that school is now doing pretty well and has raised a lot of funding. And he's turned his energy to the Tashi Lumpo Monastery. But that monastery needs some help in building and growing, especially needs a new prayer hall. There's information in the back about both of these projects, the Siddhartha School and the Tashi Lumpo Monastery. And there's brochures about the Panchen Lama Tashi Lumpo project. You can pick one up, and you can also donate if you like. All the money will go directly to that project to help build his monastery there. He's a renowned monk and a scholar, a delightful man, very devoted and experienced Buddhist practitioner, and we're really, really fortunate to have him here. Today, in this afternoon, he will be talking about this goddess, Buddha, Tara, mother of all Buddhas. She goes by various names, but Tara is her name. She comes in many colors: red, black, yellow, white, green. Today we'll talk about white Tara, I think. Yeah. He looks at me like, you tell me what to talk about. And Rinpoche will tell us a little bit about the history of this deity, maybe some legends, a little bit of background, its role in Buddhist and Tibetan Buddhist culture in particular, and then instruct us in some meditation practices. This deity, White Tara, is known as a purifying deity. It offers blessings to people for health, for purifying body, speech, and mind. It is also known as having some potential for healing one and preventing untimely death. It's often known as a long life deity that helps us with long life and especially preventing untimely death. So it's a deity that's seen as very protecting and filled with blessing powers, and tonight Rinpoche will introduce us to the practice of that deity, Tara. Some people asked if this afternoon's session was an initiation or an empowerment, which is a kind of formal ceremony that takes place in Tibetan Buddhist culture, and the answer to that is no. There are certain kinds of ceremonies where a Lama will actually formally bestow upon you the permission to engage in a formal type of practice, and that's called either an initiation or an empowerment, and this is not such. But it'll introduce you to a simple part of the practice, which is very profound in its potential impact and I think its theory. And so I personally wouldn't make that significant distinction, therefore, because if you want to engage in a practice with Tara, you can from these instructions. It's just not considered an initiation. So I wouldn't want you to leave thinking you've got that formal thing. So with those introductory comments, I will turn things over to Rinpoche. I'm sitting here in the seat where often translators sit. Rinpoche will speak in English, but sometimes his English is not adequate to convey fully all that he would like to convey. I wish that I could translate Tibetan, but I can't, because his Tibetan would be marvelous and it would make my English even better. But his English will come across, and every now and then I will interject and try to clarify things in English. We'll be here for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or so. We go until 4 o'clock, and then from around 3:30 or so, we'll open it up to questions, so you can feel free to address questions to Rinpoche at that time. Thank you all very much for coming. Okay, Rinpoche. I'll remind you.
I don't know what to say.
We didn't rehearse very much.
I eat too much lunch.
Do you want to tell legends of Tara or something?
Take a nap.
Your smile is enough.
I think I want to let you to meditate so that I can take it.
Do you want to do meditation first?
No, they have to do it, then I can take it.
I can give a little guidance.
I want to, I should tell you who she is. How to say? Nice English.
Yeah, I want to tell you who she is.
Okay, I want to tell you who she is. They are
Tara.
Tara. Tara is name in the Sanskrit name. In Tibetan called Dolma.
This Indian Sanskrit name originally is Tara, but when the Tibetans translated it, they call her Dolma, D-O-L-M-A.
Okay, Dolma. She has 3 names in Tibetan: Dolma, Murma, and Spammo. Dolma, liberated one.
She means liberated one.
Liberated one. Murma, quick one. Quick. Spammo, heroines.
She's the heroine.
Yeah. So she's heroine, quick one, and a liberated one. 3 names. Now the story, there are many history follow, but I want to give short one. This one really the Tara. You heard the compassion Buddha, Avalokiteshvara.
There's a Buddha, or sometimes called Bodhisattva, in India, Avalokiteshvara, with 4 arms or 1,000 arms, kind of embodiment of compassion, in Tibetan called Chenrezi.
And as Tibetan believe Dalai Lama, the reincarnation of the Avalokiteshvara, compassion Buddha. Okay?
Yeah, that's what Tibetans believe. Yeah, Dalai Lama is a kind of incarnation or embodiment of Avalokiteshvara.
Compassion Buddha. So he decided he has deep compassion. Then he tried to help other beings to free from the suffering of cyclic existence. Every day, before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. He done many years.